Good evening, citizens of Portsmouth. Welcome to our city council meeting. I want to ask that my council members please stand, and everyone in the chamber please stand for a moment of silence and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all, and you may be seated. And Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, sir. Mr. Barnes, Mr. Battle. Here. Mrs. Lucas-Burke. Here. Mr. Moody.
Here.
Dr. Whitaker.
Present.
Mr. Woodard.
Here.
Mayor Glover.
Here. Members of council, we have for our consideration the minutes of a called meeting on January 25th, 2022, and of a regular meeting on January 25th, 2022. Is there any discussion of the minutes? If not, we are in need of a motion and a second. And we need one of the council members to request to speak.
Please.
Move for approval.
Thank you.
Second.
Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, sir. Mr. Barnes is absent. Mr. Battle.
Here.
Mrs. Lucas-Burke.
Yes.
Mr. Moody.
Yes.
Dr. Whitaker.
Yes.
Mr. Woodard.
Yes.
Mayor Glover.
Yes.
For the minutes.
Yes. We have come,
Council members, just to be clear, to make a motion, you hit the request to speak.
Yeah.
Once you are recognized by the mayor, you need to state your motion and then hit the motion button.
Madam
Yes, sir.
Clerk, the screen is changed between the public work session and the current session, and it doesn't have that option on it any longer.
Okay,
and ladies and gentlemen, just for your information, we are instituting our new technology. And if you know what it takes to implement new technology, all I would ask is that you all be patient with us, and we will get there.
I got
Thank you very much.
council members, thank you. Thank you for your patience. Council members, when you hit the request to speak and the mayor recognizes you, you state your motion, then you hit the motion button. Don't touch anything else. After that, you're going to see the motion button go away, and you're going to see the second button. You can second the motion. Then that's going to go away, and then you're going to see the vote. But don't keep hitting buttons. Stuff
Madam-
has to clear out.
Madam Clerk, I don't mean to stop your directions, but I don't think they're seeing the request to speak
That's the
feature
problem.
on the screen. That's the problem. That's why we're looking at you strangely, if that's a word.
Okay, all right.
uh,
No, don't touch it. New electronics, just bear with us a moment.
There will be a test for everyone afterwards.
Okay, what do you have? Thanks.
So do we want to go back, or do we want to proceed forward? Yes, ma'am. We do have a presentation, and Madam Clerk,
If Ms. Terry Danaher would please join Mayor Glover at the Sergeant-at-Arms desk.
Hello. Hello, hello. Is it on? Can you hear me? Doesn't sound like it's on, but in any event, could you stand this way, please? I would prefer if you look toward the audience. City of Portsmouth proclamation. Whereas Ms. Terry Danaher will be recognized for investing many years of dedicated and committed service to the citizens of Portsmouth during her involvement with the Portsmouth Old Town Farmers Market. And whereas she took over and reestablished the Portsmouth Old Town Farmers Market in 2009 as a resource to the community and has spent countless hours organizing, coordinating, promoting, and supervising the market. And whereas the farmers market is a source of fresh produce for many of Portsmouth's senior citizens and the disabled. During the extended COVID-19 shutdown, Ms. Danaher ensured that the market remained open by coordinating arrangement with a local church to hold the market on their grounds with strict infection control procedures. And whereas, under her leadership, this Portsmouth's signature event has significantly grown in size and reputation, and Ms. Danaher has coordinated with many other businesses and special events to continue making it a success. And whereas Ms. Danaher has demonstrated her dedication to the citizens of Portsmouth in countless ways, and she will surely be missed by the many people she has encountered over the years. Now, therefore, I, Shannon E. Glover, Mayor of the City of Portsmouth, Virginia, do hereby recognize the volunteer contributions of Ms. Terry Danaher in Portsmouth and urge our citizens to join me in honoring and celebrating the tenacity and dedication of this member of our community. In witness whereof, and on behalf of the Portsmouth City Council, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of Portsmouth, Virginia, to be affixed this 8th day of February, 2022. Thank you so much for all of your service, Terry.
You're welcome. Okay, I would like to say thank you to council. Mayor Glover is a regular at our market. Bill Moody, I have seen you there, and Ms. Jones has come too. How many of you have been to the market and shopped there? Thank you for your support. For those of you who do not know anything about the market and don't even know that we exist, we are at the corner of High and Court Streets where the Portsmouth Art and Cultural Center is. We are all around Portsmouth Center, and we have all kinds of vendors, many who come very, very far away, because you may have noticed that Portsmouth does not have a lot of farmland. We're a small city, and I really want to thank the people who helped start this with me, and it just made a huge difference. And I want to thank my husband, Paul, who basically, when I said, I need your help again, just took it. He didn't divorce me, and he built a website for us, which was his first time, and he took care of the Facebook page for me, and he nagged me every weekend. I also want to thank my kids who stepped in for me a couple times so that Paul and I could have a weekend away. And I really want to thank the couple who are taking over for me. Jim Cullen and his wife, Kathy Cullen, are the perfect people. They are dedicated, energetic, creative, and they are passionate about Portsmouth. So it's still going to be there. I will be there shopping, and it's a very social place. It's a wonderful market. So please come on out. There are 2 bus routes that stop right on our corner. Parking is free for those who drive. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Terry. Madam Clerk, would you please read our speaker rules?
Yes, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, City City Council rules require a limit of up to 5 minutes to speak. As you approach the speaker's podium, you will notice a timer. At the beginning of your 5 minutes, you will see a green light. 4 minutes into your remarks, you will notice a yellow light. At the end of 5 minutes, you will see a red light, hear a beep, and we ask that you conclude your comments at that time. While speakers have an opportunity to address council on matters of public concern, all comments should be made in a manner that respects the seriousness of the forum and should not be made in a belligerent, sarcastic, or demeaning fashion. All remarks shall be directed to the city council as a body rather than to any particular member of city council, staff, or the audience, and should be limited to matters that only the Portsmouth City Council can influence. A speaker who fails to observe this basic rule of decorum will be deemed out of order and not allowed to conclude his or her comments.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Yes,
We
sir.
have now come to the agenda item of public hearing, item 22-35, UP-21-18. And Madam Clerk, would you please read the agenda item that we are considering and resolution we are considering?
Midtown resolution granting the request of Rachel Copeland and Sean Cooper for a use permit for an entertainment established at 3112 High Street. The property is zoned general mixed use. The generalized future land use map of the Bill 1 Portsmouth Comprehensive Plan recommends commercial development for the parcel. Planning Commission recommends, approval with conditions, and the actual resolution. A resolution granting a use permit, UP 2118, to Rachel Copeland and Sean Cooper to operate an entertainment establishment at 3112 High Street.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Is the applicant present? Madam, would you come forward, please? Please state your name and address. And ma'am, you have 10 minutes.
I'm Rachel Copeland. I reside at 2317 Lloyd Drive, Chesapeake, Virginia, 23325. We are wanting to we're opening as a restaurant and lounge, and we would like the entertainment variance so that we can host wedding events, church events, that kind of thing. Be a place where you can come with your husband or your wife and have a nice dinner, have some place that you can dance, listen to some good music. We are planning on being a 35 and up only venue. We want some place for people our age and a little bit younger than us to have that they can go, that they don't have to be around all the younger people and stuff. During the day, the restaurant will open from 11 to 8 as a family dining soul food buffet. And then at 8:30, we'll convert it over, and that's when it would be the nightclub lounge. We used to be located on George Washington Highway, and we would have local church choirs come in and stuff and sing or bring in local bands, that kind of stuff. So that's what we're hoping to get with this. And then through the restaurant, I have a huge passion for street ministry and outreach, and as part of our food conservation, I want to set up a program with the elementary school that's behind us, and then also IC Norcom High School, where we give out vouchers that at the end of business, when we're converting over, families can come with that voucher that's been given to them, and any food that's still left on the buffet, they can get a free meal to take home, because I know that there's a lot of families struggling in the city of Portsmouth. So we want to also use the restaurant as a way to reach out to the community rather than throwing food away. I'd rather give it away and have it be a benefit to somebody versus just going in the trash can. So we have a lot of things we're looking to do with the restaurant where we can be a really big impact, not only for places for people to come to, but where we can impact the city of Portsmouth on a positive note.
Thank you, Ms. Copeland. Ms. Copeland, thank you.
Thank you.
This is a public hearing, and so this is your opportunity as a citizen. If you wish to come forward and speak on this matter, you will have 5 minutes. Last call. Are there any Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak on this public hearing? Seeing none, this public hearing is closed. And members of council, is there any discussion on this item?
I had a question for Ms. Copeland.
Councilman Moody, sir, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. Actually, I have a question for Ms. Copeland.
Ms. Copeland, could you please come back? I'm sorry. Thank you, ma'am.
How you doing, Ms. Copeland?
I'm very well, blessed by the best, thank you.
You may have mentioned it in your presentation. What are the closing, what time will you close?
2 a.m.
2 a.m.? I know a lot
We're going to
of,
be closed on Monday.
a lot of restaurants on High Street have voluntarily opted to close at 12 midnight. Is that something you would voluntarily do?
During the, like, Monday through, or we're closed completely on Monday. I think Tuesday through Thursday, I don't think that that would be a problem. I would request that on Friday and Saturday that we'd be allowed to stay open later.
Yeah, and you, well, it's not something I'm advocating because according to ABC laws, you can stay open to 2. A lot of them have decided to close at 12. You may want to speak with some of them about that, but in any event, I'll certainly support it. But
Thank you.
I was just wondering if you had heard about that.
I had not, no, sir.
Okay, thanks.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. And you could stay up because I have a couple of my colleagues still have questions. So, Councilman Christopher Woodard, sir, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor Shannon Glover. How you doing, Ms. Copeland?
I am well, thank you.
All right. I just want to know what's the capacity that's approved for your venue?
150.
150. And also, I know you were, like I said, you're new to the neighborhood. You guys were located on, George Washington Highway. Are you guys going to have a hiring event? Are you already fully staffed?
No, I am still hiring. I had a hiring event on Wednesday of last week, and I will put out another one. We're looking to hire between 25 and 30 people.
Right. So you'll potentially staff, have a 25-person staff?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Thank you, sir. Councilmember Battle, sir, you have the floor.
That's in the Rodman Shopping Center.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So that was a club before?
So my understanding is about 5 years ago, it was a nightclub and lounge.
Yes, ma'am.
And then a couple years ago, it became
Yes,
Southern
ma'am.
Comfort Dining, and
Yes,
it was just a restaurant. And so because there was
Yeah.
a lapse.
Break, yes, ma'am.
So, yeah.
And next, we have Councilwoman Lisa Lucas Burke. Ma'am, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. Ms. Copeland, like the presentation, we like good food and good music and all those things. You mentioned about the voucher program for when you're at the end of the day. So how are you advertising or marketing, or who are you partnering with to get this information out to the community?
Once we open, I was going to go and speak with the principal at both schools and talk to them about implementing it, because I would like to know that the vouchers are going to families that need it, not just families that are taking advantage of the system. And so I was hoping to work one-on-one with the schools directly so that I could build a rapport with the principals.
Right.
And then also find out, if we have more food than they can use, they could recommend the next closest school to be able to do that.
Okay, wonderful. And I guess the next question, it may be for staff, Deputy City Manager Baldwin. Did we have any communities that were in any opposition or any complaints about?
No, prior to Planning Commission and prior to council, we've not had any opposition expressed to staff.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, and thank you, Ms. Copeland.
Thank you.
We are now in need of a motion and a second. Councilmember Moody. And do we have a second? Council members, plead of,
He didn't state his motion.
Mayor, I move that the agenda item be adopted.
thank you, sir. And we have a second. And council members, would you please vote electronically?
Council members, after you state the motion, you have to hit the motion button. After you do that, then someone can hit the second button. You only need to hit it once, because if you hit it too many times, it throws the whole system off. Okay, so we're gonna reset this up. Okay, so we need a motion. Someone needs to hit the request to speak.
Councilmember Moody,
Thank you.
it's been recognized. State the motion.
I move adoption. Madam Clerk, I hate to be the one to break the news to you, but
You
the motion button is not activating.
Ashley? Is it on now, Mr. Moody?
Mm-mm, not yet. I wonder why it keeps not resetting. I guess I broke it.
You got it? He's locked out. Okay. Councilman Moody made the motion. Is there a second? Thank you.
And Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, sir. Mr. Barnes is absent. Mr. Battle? Mrs. Lucasberg?
Yes.
Mr. Moody?
Yes.
Dr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Mr. Woodard?
Yes.
Mayor Glover?
Yes. We have now come to the city manager's report. Item 22-36. And Madam Clerk, would you please read the ordinance that we are considering pertaining to this item?
Yes, sir. An ordinance accepting a circuit court records preservation program grant in the amount of $46,069.52 from the Library of Virginia and appropriating said funds in the FY 2022 Grants Fund for use by Circuit Court Clerk's Office.
Thank you, ma'am. And council members, we are in need of a motion.
Just please
Councilmember Moody?
state the motion.
Mayor, I move that agenda item 22-36 be adopted.
Second.
Thank you.
So you have to push the motion. Council members, we will vote electronically.
Bingo.
It's okay. No, we don't. We're on 36. This item is adopted 6-0.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes,
We have
sir.
now come to item 22-37. And Madam Clerk, would you please read the ordinance that we are considering pertaining to this item?
Yes, sir. An ordinance accepting rescue squad assistant funds in the amount of $109,000 from the Office of Emergency Medical Services and appropriating said funds in the FY 2022 Grants Fund for use by the Department of Fire, Rescue, and Emergency Services.
Council members, we are in need of a motion. Councilwoman Lucas Burke has made the motion. And we need a second.
Yep, you did.
Councilman Woodard has seconded. And council members, please vote electronically.
Sir, you have a speaker.
Oh, that's correct. Sorry. We do have a speaker for this one, and the speaker is Ms. Donna Sy. Ma'am, would you come forward?
Good evening. My name is Donna Sy, and I live at 3104 Garland Drive in Woodbine Farms neighborhood, Churchland. Agenda item 2237 is an ordinance accepting $109,000 from the Office of Emergency Medical Services and applying the funds to the Rescue Squad Assistance Grants Fund for the year 2022 for the Department of Fire, Rescue, and Emergency Services. In the background information it reads, this grant program is primarily a reimbursement grant that requires the city to make the purchase of one replacement medic unit and then seek reimbursement. This grant requires a local match of $109,000. The match requirement will be satisfied for the year 2022 general fund budget. And the Portsmouth Fire, Rescue, and Emergency Services budget for the capital outlay is $20,300. There's not enough money in the budget to pay the local match. Where is the city going to get the $88,700 to complete payment for the local match? We need to see in the budget book where the money is going to come from to make the match complete. How come the budget book doesn't list the grants and how the matches will be accomplished? And how come I can't get the answers about money from y'all?
Thank you, ma'am. Council members, we already have done the motion and the second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, council members, please vote electronically.
The item is adopted 6-0.
Now come to item 22-38. And Madam Clerk, would you please read the ordinance that we are considering pertaining to this item?
Yes, sir. Adoption of an ordinance accepting a brine training equipment grant in the amount of $18,062 from the Virginia Department of Criminal Justice Services and appropriating said amount in the FY 2022 Grants Fund for use by the Portsmouth Police Department.
Thank you, ma'am. And council members, we are in need of a motion and a second. Councilwoman Lucas Burke has made the motion.
Move for adoption.
Second, and we do have a speaker. It was seconded but we do have a speaker. And our speaker is Ms. Donna Sy.
Good evening. My name is Donna Sy, and I live at 3104 Garland Drive in the Woodbine Farms neighborhood, Churchland. Agenda item 22-38 is an ordinance to accept $18,060 from the Virginia Department of Criminal Justice Service and appropriating $18,060 for the year 2022 Grants Fund for use by the Portsmouth Police Department to purchase new polygraph machines and video photo equipment for the police public information officer. The $18,062 is estimated revenue in the four-year 2022 Grants Fund. A local match of $6,020 is required as a condition of the grant. The local match requirement will be satisfied with funds previously budgeted in the Portsmouth Police Department Maintenance Office Equipment line item for the year 2022 general fund budget. In a letter dated December the 22nd, 2021, it reports that the Department of Criminal Justice Services grant was approved for a total award of $24,083 funded through the federal award for the period January 1, 22 through September the 30th, 2022. The letter reports there are conditions and requirements. The federal funds of $18,062 plus the local match of $6,020 equals $24,083. In the Portsmouth Police Department budget, there is no capital outlay. Where is the money coming from to pay the local match? We need to see in the budget book where the money is going to come from and to make the match complete. How come the budget book doesn't list the grants and how the matches will be accomplished? I need to see where our money is being spent. We need to have the divisions of each department so we the people can see exactly what is happening to the taxes we pay.
Thank you, ma'am. Council members, is there any discussion on this item? Seeing none, council members, please vote electronically.
This item is adopted 6-0.
Thank you, ma'am. We've now come to new business, item 22-39, boards and commissions. And Dr. Whitaker, is there any business that we need to conduct on boards and commissions?
Yes, Mayor. Chris.
You have the floor, sir.
In accordance with the state conflict of interest law, I move that the following persons be removed from their board positions for failure to file their required statement of economic interest: Newport Development Authority, Kristen Johnson, Jacqueline Walker, and Portsmouth Parking Authority, Eric Whitley.
Thank you, sir. And do we have a second? We have a second. Council members, do we have a second?
Do I have to withdraw the motion?
Mayor, I second the motion.
Thank you, sir. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Battle?
Yes.
Mrs. Lucasberg?
Yes.
Mr. Moody?
Yes.
Dr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Mr. Woodard?
Yes.
Mayor Glover?
Thank you, ma'am. Item 22-40, items submitted by council. Council members, do you have any items to submit? Dr. Whitaker, sir, you have the floor.
Yes. First of all, I wanted to thank you, Mayor, for last Friday, the former basketball players of Manor High School recognized our coach as the first basketball coach at Manor High School, Coach Cliff Black, and I want to thank you for the proclamation that you gave proclaiming that Coach Cliff Black Day. Appreciate that.
My pleasure, sir.
I do have some items that I would like for the city manager to follow up with us on at our next meeting, and that is an update on the cemetery assessment and upgrades to Mount Calvary Cemetery Complex. We had a speaker at the last meeting, Ms. Breckenridge Haywood, that had mentioned that there was an assessment that was on the city's website from 2010. However, that assessment, I couldn't find it up there on the website. And what I did receive from the clerk, it was an assessment that was done for Ms. Breckenridge Haywood, which I believe she submitted to the city. So would like to get an update on that, and also an update on the acquisition of Lincoln Cemetery. The unsolicited bid process at our next meeting, if we could get an update. Oh, I thought you.
City Manager Jones, she requested to speak, so.
I actually have a number of report backs that I have neglected to send out, but I will definitely send it out tonight so that you have this report back before the next meeting.
Is that something you want to share now?
I can,
Okay.
but maybe I can do it under pending items, because
Oh,
that's.
okay.
Yes, ma'am, that would be acceptable. Thank you.
All right. Also, there's a couple more items. Also, we received email from Attorney Stromberg and a reply from Sheriff Michael Moore regarding the regional jail. And we would like to get an update. I think it mentioned there was a visitation that was done or scheduled for January 28th. If we could get an update on that regional jail acquisition. And then next items pertain more to, as we starting to move into our budget process and CIP, we have been discussing the sports facility upgrades. And so if we can get some information on where we are with that whole process, as well as the African Cultural Museum, and the last issue pertaining to, and I don't know if this might be part of the unsolicited bid process, but the police facility as far as that location. And then last, Mayor, as we move towards our budget season, I'd like to get an update from our city assessor at one of our next meetings. That's all I have.
Thank you, sir. And Councilwoman Lucas Burke. Ma'am, you have the floor.
Great, thank you, Mayor. Black History Month. There's, during our public work session, I made mention of a Senate bill, and I have the Senate bill as 158. It's for Virginia Black, Indigenous, and People of Color Historic Preservation Fund. And that fund is for the purpose of awarding grants to eligible state-recognized and federally recognized Indian tribes, private non-profit organizations, and localities for the eligible cost of acquiring land or permanent protection therein. This is something that was presented to me that was thought that we could possibly use to repair some of the cemeteries. So I guess what I'm asking is if we could have someone to, city manager or city attorney, to look into Senate Bill 158 that would provide an opportunity for us to receive grant state funds to apply possibly some of that towards the cemeteries that Dr. Whitaker mentioned, the Lincoln cemeteries, and also, who's it? Yeah, because.
Thank you, ma'am. Are there any other of my colleagues have any pending items or items they would like to submit? I would like to submit one item. As my colleague, Councilwoman Lucas Burke indicated, it is African American History Month. And the city, if you all are aware, the city has, and the museums are engaging in a lot of events. The Tuskegee Airmen will be here at the museums. And I had the pleasure of participating in a presentation by Dr. Nelson from UVA. He is one of the provosts there, and he works in the architecture area. And he did a wonderful presentation this last Saturday at the Courthouse Museum about architecture and slavery. And it was really engaging. The participants who came learned a lot about the historical impact of what happened at UVA and who actually built the place, which I thought was extremely important for the community to know. Black history is American history, and we all need to learn as much as we can. And the city has invested time and resources and other organizations for us to engage during this month. So I encourage you to do so. We do have a brochure that is available, and that brochure can be found on our website about all of the activities that the city and the museums and other organizations are participating in during Black African American History Month. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Dr. Whitaker, sir, you have the floor.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to follow up on your comments pertaining to Black History Month. As many of you know, we have had quite a bit of disturbance and discussion coming from the governor's office, Governor Youngkin's, quite a bit of conversation pertaining to critical race theory. You've seen across the nation burning of books that try to depict the truth about history. And I just want to point out that the discussion that we had a few minutes ago talking about the cemetery assessments, just want to let you know the reason why we're discussing the cemeteries is because of critical race theory. Critical race theory is not a law school course, as it has been depicted. Critical race theory deals with critical thinking and challenging why you see disparities, particularly based on race. The reason why we're having a discussion about these cemeteries is because if you go throughout this community and look at the historically Black cemeteries and the conditions in which they're in, which are owned by the city, and then you compare the conditions of the historically white cemeteries, Oak Grove, Cedar Grove, Olive Branch, you will note that they are not comparable as far as their condition. And the question becomes, why are they in those conditions? And it is because of neglect. And I say that because as we talk about this whole Black history and the contributions of Blacks to the history in this country, we have to do it from a perspective of truth. And so I appreciate you bringing that up. And I wanted the citizens to know that the very issue that this Commonwealth is discussing and is finding challenging is right here at home, dealing with some of the many issues that we have to deal with, poverty, crime. Those are critical race theory issues. And so I just want to bring that up. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Jones, we've come to item 22-41. Are there any pending items, ma'am?
Yes, several.
You have the floor.
Thank you. Some I'll just go through briefly for the public's perspective because I will be submitting this in writing. One of the follow-up items was the condition of the pavilion. Staff has met with the pavilion employees and determined that there were a number of key components of the facility that are at their useful life. We will be meeting in more detail to get a list of those things that are time sensitive and hopefully develop a plan as to how we will go forward with them. Recognizing that the current contract allows the vendor to have 100% access to any sponsorships, that's one of the things we definitely need to look at in the future to make that contract more viable for the city, because as it is now, the city bears all the costs. I know the promoter assumes the risk of bringing acts here, but the maintenance and everything else is on the city. So we need to look at that. And again, I have this in writing and I will submit it. The other question for follow-up was the shot spotter technology. The question was asked if they could provide results over a period of time. Mr. Jack Pontius from ShotSpotter responded that a lot of the information is proprietary, but he did provide some consolidated numbers. One being there were 1,563 number of victims found. The ShotSpotter alert saved victims. Otherwise, the victims would need to wait for a 911 call or self-report. Another statistic that was provided was 24,327 casings were collected. One of the benefits of ShotSpotter is the precision to find evidence. 391 guns were recovered, and then ballistic connections of the guns helped remove the serial shooters in the cities. And so there's additional information that I will make sure to get that out. This information was relative to 18 localities over a 3-year period. Another one of the follow-up items was to provide an update on the Charles Peak Recreation Center. Charles Peak Little League's estimated $4.9 million in improvements was included in the staff's initial ARPA recommendation, the category recreation field replacement funding at a total of $5.2 million. City Council authorized the first allotment of those ARPA funds. It did not include these projects, but these projects are on the list for discussion for the next allotment that we anticipate receiving in and around July 1. Another report was on the Rivers Casino minority investment information. Rush Street Gaming, as a developer of Rivers Casino, committed to the city of Portsmouth to solicit minority investment participation equal to the greater of $5 million or 5% of the project's equity from minority investors and minority-owned businesses, with a primary emphasis on those that live in Portsmouth and a secondary emphasis on those that live in the surrounding area. The minority investors will be expected to invest their own capital in the project. Rivers Casino Portsmouth has reported that it is nearly complete with a highly successful equity placement for the project. Rivers Casino Portsmouth issued a press release in September 2020 publicly announcing the program. Through June 2021, Rivers focused its efforts exclusively on Portsmouth residents and business owners. Although Rivers had anticipating closing the placement in late October, due to renewed interest in conjunction with the project's official groundbreaking in December 2021, individuals were given an opportunity to take a second look at making an investment. Rivers Casino Portsmouth has stated that it has communicated with dozens of potential local investors, most of whom were proactively reached out to, while others expressed interest through a dedicated email address or via the Rivers Casino Portsmouth website. Rivers Casino has reported commitments from a dozen local minority investors, with the majority of these investors and the majority of the $5 million plus investments being committed are by Portsmouth residents or business owners. The next was the cemeteries update. And during the 25th City Council meeting, questions were raised about the prior assessment from the Mount Calvary Cemetery Complex by the 2010 Chicora Research Foundation in 2010. The 2010 cemetery assessment provides some historical context and guidance with respect to recommended improvements, such as correcting drainage deficiencies, removing of trees and other vegetation, cleaning up areas associated with illegal dumping, etc. However, these assessments is not a technical document that provides the details for the cemetery that are necessary to carry out the aforementioned tasks. The current assessment proposed for the Mount Calvary Cemetery Complex and the Lincoln Cemetery, providing we get access, will provide the following information: topographical survey, verification of property lines and existing right-of-way lines, location of marked and unmarked grave sites using ground-penetrating radar, evaluation and termination of wetlands boundaries, confirmation of wetlands areas with the Corps of Engineers, using GPS to provide a geodatabase for all cemetery plots. This technical information being obtained in combination with the 2010 assessment will be used to inform decisions about the activities associated with rehabilitating these cemeteries and identify any constraints that would limit the type of equipment to perform the work, the location of potential stormwater management facilities, and it will also be used to determine planning level costs. The assessment for Mount Calvary began January 31st, 2022. The consultant will provide a schedule for completion at the second week in February or near the first week of the work, or as soon as possible. And then the city attorney's office is currently working to gain access for Lincoln Cemetery assessment through a right of entry. The next item to report back on was an update for unsolicited proposals. City staff made the decision to accept the A4 proposal solely for the purpose of gathering additional information. The public notice to trigger the 45-day period were issued in December of last year. In addition, the city also requested that A4 provide more detailed information about its proposal. The 45-day period ended in January 31st, and A4 provided the additional information, most of the additional information within the time frame required. One competing proposal was received during the 45-day period. This proposal was limited to the financing and development of a new city hall only. Because the city recognizes the debt would be carried on the city's record regardless of who leads the effort, the city intends to use resources to develop a new city hall. As a result, the second proposal was rejected. City staff is currently reviewing the additional information by A4. Upon completion of the review, the city can decide not to continue discussion about the proposal, which would end the process. Please note that commitment to move forward to the next phase cannot occur without city council action and public input into the process. The next item, final item, that staff reported back on was 206 High Street. Staff to provide an update on the Sports Hall of Fame abandoned historical artifacts and conversion of 206 High Street to an African-American cultural center. We've investigated the artifacts and determined that no artifacts remained in the building. The prior owner of the artifacts took the items with them. And then moving to the building, much of the building is currently occupied by the police and closed off to the public, except for the front lobby area. The former Sports Hall of Fame gift shop area, now the visitor center, and a shared hallway providing access to the shared restroom facilities. COVID testing is also currently ongoing in the hallway. The African American Society has installed 3 murals in the front lobby. There are 2 additional walls that could be used for display, a short wall and a long wall. On the short wall facing the back entrance to the visitor center, the African American Society currently has a display of city council staff and other elected officials. The display area is not large enough to house 3-dimensional displays, as the hallway should not be blocked to ensure safety. The remaining long wall provides additional space to display items. The building at 206 High Street remains the ideal location to house a central comprehensive history museum long-term. Staff continues to search for a permanent location for police. That concludes my report. I'll be sending this out via email tonight. Are there any questions?
Yes, Councilmember Battle and then Dr. Whitaker.
At the last meeting, I mentioned that I was approached by an attorney in our city, and he was telling me that the minority investment for the casino was closed to the minorities, and they had gotten a group of minorities from surrounding cities and some from this city to invest. So the attorney was holding investment funds for folk in our city, and he didn't know what to do. So I made a conference call with him, and I was able to persuade Rush Gaming to open it back up for the minorities in our city. So when I said that at the last meeting, the vice mayor asked for the validity to that. Ms. Manager did mention all of the situation, with the exception that I had the meeting, the conference call, which enabled us to be able to make those investments for our city. And Mr. Bonds isn't here, but I'm sure he'll, he's gotten his validity, and she can attest that I initiated the conference call and got Rush Gaming to open the situation back up for the minority investments from this city. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. And Dr. Whitaker, sir, you have the floor.
Yes, this is for the city manager. On the River Casino, which I wasn't in favor of, the figure that you mentioned, the 5 million, 5%, what is the total investment into the casino estimated to be, to
I
construct
will
the?
get,
Because the figure, I just want to make sure that what's being presented to the public is clear.
okay.
Because if it's a 5% interest or 5 million, that would mean that the total investment in the casino would be something like $100 million. And I thought the figure was higher than that.
I will provide a report back.
Okay, because I don't think that's a true 5% of the total investment. You might want to
I
check.
will be sure to report.
Check that out.
I will
Okay.
be sure to report back.
Okay. And then on the unsolicited bid process, once again, I believe that should be a transparent process. It should be open for people to bid from across the nation and not a closed process as we're going through.
Thank you, sir. Are there any other questions from our colleagues? Councilwoman Lucas Burke, ma'am, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. Regarding city manager's report back, I guess since we're looking at the Rush Street, want to be able to get maybe some idea of the profits or the revenue that we're getting from the sports betting. I know that that's already online, and if that'll be something that will show up in our upcoming budget sessions.
Mr. Battle?
I think the online betting
You have the
won't
floor.
show up until a couple of years after the casino is open. I think the first year, we won't be getting anything, but I think it's the second year we'll start getting funds from the online betting.
Dr. Whitaker, did you have the floor?
I didn't.
You good? Okay. Thank you, sir. Well, that concludes the pitting items from the city manager. Madam Clerk, would you please read the speaker statement one more time?
Ladies and gentlemen, city council rules require a limit of up to 5 minutes to speak. As you approach the speaker's podium, you will notice a timer. At the beginning of your 5 minutes, you will see a green light. 4 minutes into your remarks, you will notice a yellow light. At the end of 5 minutes, you will see a red light, hear a beep, and we ask that you conclude your comments at that time. While speakers have an opportunity to address council on matters of public concern, all comments should be made in a manner that respects the seriousness of the forum and should not be made in a belligerent, sarcastic, or demeaning fashion. All remarks shall be directed to the city council as a body rather than any particular member of city council, staff, or the audience, and should be limited to matters that only the Portsmouth City Council can influence. A speaker who fails to observe this basic rule of decorum will be deemed out of order and not allowed to conclude his or her comments.
Thank you, ma'am. We've now come to non-agenda items, non-agenda speakers, and our first speaker tonight is Mr. Mark Godoldig-Yatrovsky. Mr. Yatrovsky, please state your name and address, and you have 5 minutes, sir.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, and other neighbors. You stated my name, sort of, and my address is in the record. So hits and misses is my topic. First, it didn't make it to my Christmas stocking, but it was a wish that was stated last year, and the scoreboard is more or less working. These things do take time to settle out, so I'm happy to see progress here. Might be a nice touch if you could get the permission to play the Jeopardy theme while you're casting your votes, but that might get old after the 45th item on the agenda. Just a thought. Another hit, y'all did vote last time to approve the Southside Broadband Network participation. As Dr. Garcia told you in the work session, there's already an application, a significant application that stands ready to capitalize on that interconnectivity and right here in the city of Portsmouth. So thank you for moving forward with that. Now here's a miss, and I consider it a serious miss. It goes back into last year as well. You all emerged from a closed session which had an unusual outcome. So 5 of the 7 of you refused to certify that the meeting you held complied with the requirements of the Freedom of Information Act. However, those who voted no did not initially comply with the provisions of that particular bit of code. To wit, they were required to state why they voted no. And thankfully, that did come to light in the subsequent council session. But some of the reasons for the no votes were puzzling. One in particular said, well, we didn't finish our discussion. I'm not in a position to offer you legal counsel, but as a lay reader of the Freedom of Information Act code provisions, I never saw anything in there that required you finish your discussion. Just that the discussion comply with the provisions of the act that were read when you went into closed session. Now, that was also something that could have been remediated if the council member who cited that particular objection felt that you hadn't completed it, then you could have extended the discussion beyond the council meeting, as have other councils who preceded you. Another objection was, and a couple of council members cited this objection, that you went into areas that were not provided for. Now that's a serious infraction, but the council members who cited that did not state where the discussion went. The other piece of it is that was a supermajority of council members who voted no on the certification. So those council members had it within their power as a supermajority to stop the discussion from straying into territory that was not covered by the original motion. So I don't understand how that could have occurred. It only takes one member of council to object, and the others who felt similarly could have objected and stopped it from going astray. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Our next speaker, Elvira Johnson-Williams. And ma'am, you have 5 minutes.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Elvira Johnson-Williams. I live at 3313 Armstead Drive in the North Truxton area of the city. And I'm here tonight speaking on concerns. None of y'all get phone calls like I get phone calls, and I don't get phone calls like you all get phone calls. I wanted to go on record, I am not an elected official. I can't control what people say and or do in this city. This city is hurting. I have never lost a child, so I cannot imagine how these mothers feel when they have to put their babies in the ground. I hear over and over and over and over and over again, give more money to Parks and Rec, give more money so the children can have somewhere to go, give more money for the kids can do. If money is going to stop this violence, why hasn't it? Why hasn't it? I cannot disclose where my information comes from, but I will tell you this. I'm tired of hearing about $3 million here, $30,000 there, and if I give this one $30,000, that one right there get mad because I gave him $3,000, so they decide they're gonna shoot each other anyway. I'm tired. I'm tired of crying with these mothers. I don't go to the funerals. I just buried my sister and my husband. And everybody in this room that can hear me on this TV ought to be tired as well. You got the police chief doing everything he can. You got a city manager doing what she got to do. She got to deal with this council. And y'all read us rules as how we should conduct ourselves when we stand in front of y'all. Lord knows those rules need to be applied to council. I am tired. Now I'm gonna tell you what I'm really tired of. I'm tired of my life being threatened. I don't own a gun yet. I don't fear, because I don't have that spirit of fear. But what I'm gonna say is this. To the council people, or person, or whoever it may concern, if you're so tired of all our babies dying, do something about it. Stop looking for somebody else to do it. Because everybody can do it, but nobody does it. There was a song out years ago. It's called, you had ball of confusion, fears in the air, there's tension everywhere. We're tired. I'm tired. I'm just a little old civic league person, and I love my community. I love my city. But I'm tired of this city being made a mockery of by the citizens that's supposed to be leaders in this city. It's a shame to go anywhere, and the first word out of somebody's mouth anywhere else is, what y'all gonna do in Portsmouth? And you know what my answer is? What you gonna do where you are? Your problem just as good as ours, worse as ours, bad as ours, or whatever. But as God is my witness, they say teach a child, lead them. What you gonna do, teach them how to die? Get shot? We got a gang violence problem in this city. So I'm gonna ask anybody and everybody that's associated with the gangs, stop. This city is in distress. These ladies that's in here tonight with these pictures of their babies, my heart hurt. And everybody in this room and everybody that's listening, your heart ought to be hurting too. It's kind of hard for us to leave the city to the children when there won't be any children to leave it to. We killing one another. Black Lives Matter, show me. When Black lives start mattering, I'll march. Have a good evening.
Our next speaker, Cedric Cradle. And sir, you have 5 minutes. Yes, they can stand up there with you if you prefer. Yes, sir. The clock will start, sir, when you come forward and introduce yourself.
Giving honor to God and Jesus Christ, my Lord and Savior. Thank you. City Council member, Mayor, City Council members. Unsolved murders, Cord Turd, Emmanuel Turd, Jaquan Johnson, Antonio Atkins, Carlton Dodd, Tyshik Wolf, Jeff Bazemore, Bamboo, Lade, Tasia, Devon, Jamal, Durian Granger, Majay, Demond Sykes, Lakeisha Smith, DeAndre, Josh, Antoine Wiggins, Salik Farmer, Vernon Norwell, Jaheim Caraway, James Hill, Dante Collins, Robert Artis, Malcolm Hoskins, Javar Williams, Kamadre Howard, Andre Hall, Omar Booker, Robert Langston, Nicholas Suggs, Mari Collins, Curtis Walton, and Brian Williams. I don't know what else I need to tell y'all of what's going on in the city. We are in a crisis. There's a big game balance that's going to happen. I don't know if y'all know this. It's about to be hell on earth in Portsmouth in the coming months. We are projected to have 99 murders, triple to what we had last year, if you don't know. I'm telling you, we have to do something. We have to get activated. The number one thing that I'm concerned with is safety. We need more police officers. That's all I've been advocating for. All right. The second thing is, why haven't nobody contacted these parents who've lost a loved one that's an unsolved murder about the crime? There's a disconnect. I'm gonna keep saying the same thing. There's a disconnect. We got to tap into some of y'all hearts because some of y'all hearts are cold. Because when you see me, you see nothing. But what about when you see these babies? We killed a whole generation of scientists, doctors, lawyers, judges, preachers, council members, mayors. They're all gone. They can't come back. We in trouble. When are we going to not worry about a casino? $5 million here, $5 million. Some of y'all going to be dead and gone when they're sick. That casino is still here. But what about these children? They're not going to reap nothing. Where's your heart? Where's your soul? What can we do? I'm willing to work with the mayor. DeAndre Barnes called me a crazy person. This crazy man bought him a gift for his cousin, who he lost to gun violence. And Chris, I would appreciate you give it to him on the behalf of these mothers who have lost their children. This is our gift because we all are hurting. And I don't want nobody to think that I'm against Portsmouth because, boy, I'm for Portsmouth all the way, from the bottom to the top. But we got to work together. We got to figure something out. We got to be innovative. Y'all got shot spotters? Let's find a way to do something about this gun violence. I don't believe it's going to work because we don't have enough police officers. Put some things, I ain't heard nothing. Madam Jones, what about the 6-month plan that you guys was talking about last year? I ain't heard nothing about it. If you have it, please let us know. We're willing to work with y'all. But it's about to get out of hand, people. And some of y'all family members are going to get touched in this situation. How do I know? Because we in the midst. We see what's going on. I'm tired of the mothers hurting. If your heart that cold, get off the bench. If your heart that cold. Safety is number one. Safety. With me being a veteran, we need boots on the ground. We need more police officers. We need more grief counseling. Because guess what? I can hear the brothers crying behind me. I don't even want to turn around because I might lose my composure. When will you realize we in trouble? It's not about the money. But y'all make everything about the money. And I know you got to do your due diligence and your politics and all that stuff like that. But how many of y'all invested in changing the situation that we're in instead of invested in the show that's coming, the casinos that's coming? How many of y'all invested in that? I bet you that came out. Some of y'all will get fired. But y'all, your minds are not on the right things. But we got to change this thing around. And I believe we can. Look at these mothers. Look at these families. Haven't heard anything from the police on their son's death. Nicholas Suggs, Andre Hall, Jamal, TC, and Robin. She worked for the city of Portsmouth for 18 years, and she can't get justice. Well, tell Barnes we got a gift for him. Just so since he think I'm crazy, we're gonna leave this gift for him to show him we're not crazy. I'm sorry, we're not crazy.
Sir, you have to take that with you. You can't leave it there.
Well, we'll take it it to the mother. Mayor Glover, we'll take it to the mother then.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Dr. William Dodson.
Cedric's a hoot, isn't he? Dr. William Dodson, Park Manor. Black History Month is important to us, but it's important, I think, in a way that we don't always highlight it. It's important because it's a time to highlight the successes of Black Americans, not the downtrodden or the beaten. It's not to highlight slavery. It's to hear about you and your relatives that were what made America great today. But we're having a problem with it, and I heard part of it tonight on City Council. I heard that there's black cemeteries and there's white cemeteries. And I heard it said in a way that separates us, that divides us as a people. And I wasn't pleased with the way that I heard about it. And I don't think that it was intentional. I just think it's something that's been programmed into our minds, and we need to stop that programming. We're all one people. We're not black. We're not white. I want to tell you about somebody I know from the city who you think is white, but he's a gentleman I want to tell you about his heritage. He learned from the reading of historical accounts of his ancestors in 23andMe about his family history. 23andMe told him his ancestors were the Jews and that the Egyptians made slaves, the Jews who built the pyramids, and the Jews who were slaughtered for not doing the bidding of the royalty. Later, those Jews were the ones that the Nazis tried to exterminate. Some of his ancestors were also the Catholics, the European Protestants of the 1500s and 1600s that were slaughtered or ordered sent to the New World under further threat of life. And upon arriving, they were not allowed to own businesses or to vote in any affairs except in the state of Maryland. Some of his ancestors were the lowest caste of peoples in India who were forced to bury their faces in the mud when other caste peoples even just walked past them. His ancestors were the Gypsies of Europe, who after the Jews were the second largest group of peoples that Hitler tried to exterminate. This man learned that his ancestors were the Celtic Welsh of the UK, who the peoples of Normandy, the Romans, and later the British have tried to subjugate through the power of slaughter and legislation. His ancestors were the Irish, who the Tudors of England in the 1600s killed all the males of the family, killed them unless they went to the New World. His ancestors were the Germans who immigrated when the war broke out in Germany, but when they arrived here, they were put into internment camps because they were thought to be a security threat. His ancestors were the natives that were here before you. But they died due to the disease and the corruption that the white man brought to this continent. And that's just his mother's family. His father's Protestant family, well, his father was told that he needed to move out because there wasn't enough food in the house to support him. He eloped at age 17 with his new bride of 15 years old to rent a farm at the kindness of a stranger who, with only a promise as collateral, built a log cabin, and they lived on the dirt floors in the foothills of Virginia. That man who lived on the dirt floors and was raised there was my father, Dr. Dodson, who many of you know was the first oral surgeon here. That woman was my mother, whose ancestors were persecuted. As a child, my father bucketed water twice a day from the spring for their survival. And that's just a piece of my family's heritage. So y'all look at me and you think I'm white. I'm not white. I'm a bit of every culture that's ever been here. I get tired of hearing about the separation. I get tired of hearing words, especially from some of the city council members who say, my people. Or look at another person of the same color and say, hey, brother. But when you look at me, you don't say the same thing. That separates us. If I looked at Mr. Moody and said, hey, brother, but I looked at Mr. Glover and didn't say the same thing, I'd be a hypocrite. I'd be a racist. So I'm asking you to police your words, to watch what you say. It's us, all of us, that are in this together. And that's what Black history is about. It's about making us one people who are all, maybe not in the same boat, but we're all on the same ocean. So I'm asking you to police yourselves. I'm asking you to police your family. I'm asking you to especially police your pastors in your churches who are helping to make this divide by calling us different colors. We're one people. We're here to make Portsmouth great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Mayor, I'm not going to sit silent on that because there's too many persons who get misinformation. You mentioned, Dr. Dodson, about comments that have separated. The comments that I make compared to what your forefathers have said, I wasn't the one that said all men are created equal and then proceeded to enslave, to rape. And so, yes, there is a part of the story that has to be told, and that's the truth. And I believe all of us are one. But just because we believe all of us are one does not make the racism disappear. And just because I consciously deal with issues that have impacted my people, that doesn't mean I think less of anyone else. That just means that I'm not going to close my eyes to injustice. And when we try to gloss over it and try to say that comments from here have divided us, then we are ignoring the fact that this division occurred long before any of us were born. Portsmouth was like it is before I got here. That Confederate monument was in the middle of the street before I was born. And so because we address those issues unapologetically, that does not mean that we are separatists, but I'm one who believes we're all one people. But it's not going to just come by words, because there are policies in this city. When you heard me refer to black cemeteries and white cemeteries, and when we look at those conditions, they just didn't occur because one group decided to keep up a cemetery and another didn't. That's just a microcosm of the policies that have been passed in this city as well as this country that has caused neglect in our cities. And what you don't want to talk about is the crime that we're seeing and the poverty that we're seeing is because of intentional laws and policies that I didn't pass, but were part of the structure of this country. And when persons like you with your educational background come up here and give miseducation like that, it just perpetuates the myth. And I'm one that's going to deal with the truth, because the truth will set you free regardless. And I'm not up here for a consensus. I speak out of consciousness. And so whether those applaud or not, it's not for the applause, it's for the truth. And I'm up here to try to pass policies that will correct the discrepancies of the past, whether those like it or not. I'm going to do it regardless.
Councilman Battle, sir, you have the floor.
I understand how everybody feels. It's terrible when we lose our young ones, but a lot of times you all lay it on us unjustly. I'm 73 years old. 60 years I've been working in communities, donating my lunch money, donating my daddy's money, my mother's money, and I haven't stopped all my life. I've donated to this city. But I've done more than donate. I've coached kids. I've recreated kids all my life. All my life, I have been there holding their hands, turning them around, showing them the way. I'm only one person, and I rarely get injured. But when you come up and you say the things to us like you do, I don't believe for 1 minute that any of these people don't feel that sorrow. And enough of us aren't doing what they need to do. And I'm going to continue doing what I'm doing. All my life, I've never had to ask the city when I wanted to give Elvira some money, or the Little People's Guild, or all of the little leagues in the city, and I won all of them. I've been there coaching. I've been there making schedules. I propped Tyrone Hines up and made him successful. I speak to kids. I asked the council to peel off $2 million to deal with the kids that come out of the court services, and any kid that a parent is having trouble with, all they have to do is call. But you have to help us. If you see your children not doing what's right, you need to call to get help with the children. You don't sit back and allow, you know they're running with the wrong kids. Don't sit back. Again, we love everybody in this city, all of us. And we're going to continue to do that. And again, I understand your frustration, and I take this lashing because I know you're frustrated. But please think sometime before you give us a tongue lashing. The kid you put on the bottom part, he was a part of me, family, okay? Yeah, well, why do you lay this on me? I mean, you're laying it on us. I mean,
we need to maintain the proper order. We can have a conversation after this, but we need to maintain the proper order.
well, I'm going to continue to help you and yours, and you and yours, and everybody I can.
Thank you, sir. Our next speaker, Ms. Deborah Jones. Ms. Jones, you have 5 minutes, ma'am.
Good evening, Councilman.
Good evening, ma'am. Could you pull the mic down towards you so we can hear you? Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
You know, I came with notes, and every time I come for note, I can't use it. Because you don't feel what we feel. We hurt. We're not interrogated or upset or just want to be mad. We're hurting. It's a difference between a hurt and being point fingers at you the reason. You wasn't the reason my son Jamel Kinghead Howard was killed. You wasn't the reason. None of y'all was the reason. A bullet took his life. A young punk took his life. I don't even want to come here and address y'all. The people I need to address, like I said the last time, is the Portsmouth City judicial system, the Commonwealth attorney, and the court system. Who they answer to? Why can't you see that we need answers from them? Invite them here to come and talk to us. Make a special section where we as mothers can come and talk and find out why it's taken 3 years when they had the killers walking around on the street, still killing. They don't care. You don't understand that this is real. A birthday is real. A holiday is real. You will never feel it until it hit your door. It's easy to say it's okay. We understand. But till it hit your door and that birthday come and that holiday come and just any day come, when you stop counting days and start counting years, you won't feel what we're feeling. Please. I'm addressing right now, not the people of color.
But we need Miss I, Mr. Adultery, we need help. Us black mothers that have lost their babies, we need your help. For some reason, the Lord put on my heart the last time to ask you. In my notes, I just can't read them because they just words on a piece of tablet. Cedric, thank you. Thank you for being the voices behind Unseen Mothers. Because if you could see what we do and go through, just a day to wake up and get out of the bed, or a dream that you don't want to come out of because your son is there with you, you'll never understand what we're feeling. You're going to go home tonight. You might hear a gunshot in your neighborhood since you're from the hood. But Miss Lisa Lucas, you said it happening everywhere. But we worried about Portsmouth. The shot spotters, I listened to, we already have them in place in Portsmouth. You get on your police scanner. Shot spotters are already in place in Portsmouth. Why don't you take some of that money and give it to the parents that can barely bear their kids? They have to go and do a GoFundMe. We shouldn't have to do that. To bury your child, you got to lose all respect for yourself after you done lost your child and ask somebody to help you bury them. Take some of that money and give it to the parents that really need it for help. I'm mad. I'm not mad at you. I'm not mad at the killer. I'm mad that they have to come to this point where you don't have to bury your child, your friends is burying, and people is wondering why is it still happening? Because the judges is letting them back out on the street on a $5,000 bond, which they can get $500 from their drug dealer to give it to their parents to get them out of jail. It's crazy. They're not being accountable. So what the friends do, they come back out and shoot and kill, retaliation. They're gonna keep going until the judges and the court start holding them reliable, until you start asking questions. Go ask the judge. Go ask the common fraternal, what you doing? They back on the street. It's crazy, I don't understand it. But I will be here, and I'm glad you took, Mr. Moody, I want to thank you before I heard you were retiring. And I thank you for your service. So, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Our last speaker, Ms. Sheila Joseph. Mr. Battle, did you?
Oh, no, thank you, sir.
Councilman Woodard, did you?
Good evening to everybody. My name is Sheila Joseph, and 139 Grand Street. Back on the 7th, the city manager and the engineer got with me, and he scheduled an appointment on the 18th of January to come out to the site to address the issue that she asked him to come out to look at. I want to try to speak as fast as I can, but sometimes it's hard because I got too many things on my plate. But I will say that he came out with Mr. Savage and Mr. George, the one, and he looked at this situation and he said, I'll get back with you within 2 weeks. In other words, send you an email. I give my email to you all or whoever wants to have it, Sheila J. O. 357 at gmail.com. And anybody that wants to use that to contact me, I'm pretty much have in my hand. For the officials, you'll know what I'm talking about. I have been written back to respond away from Congress Scott, and the letter is addressing me, Miss Joseph. The president and I have voted for, and I'll call the title. Let me put my glasses on. The title is, which y'all are familiar with, H.R. 3684. And it's for the entire rebuilding and everything and structure and whatnot. Well, at the time, I didn't know about this when I was writing letters. I got tired coming here, so I started writing letters. I said, I got to clean up the letter. And I wrote the letter about the corroded pipes over the years that we have throughout in the city. But I was also talking about myself too. I use myself for an example for others to learn, to follow what I do, because I know what I'm talking about. I was talking about the drain system. Maybe I don't know the name of it, but the box on the corner where all the storm water go and everything. And it was, I have videos that is underwater when we have hard rain. And so nobody took time to look at it. So I wrote the letter concerning about the pipes and all the different things, but I left out an item about the, I also addressed the streets, our street. It reminded me of when I used to go to the Caribbean, and when you're riding in the Caribbean, the streets are bouncing. And my granddaughter come from out of town, and she riding in a 15-passenger van that I had, and she said, Grandma, why is it so bouncy? Because our streets. And here it is, 2022, we still dealing with that. But I won't complain no more about it because the money is available, and I would like to know, I wrote back to them and thanked them for it, and they told me I had to deal with the local, which is you all, about it. Now, I'm not here to complain, but I'm just saying, I want to try to understand how we go about the citizens know. So I figured that the citizens need to get more involved in their own community and start networking information that they need to come together so that y'all can have more details instead of person just like me or others to address something that is going on worldwide. You see it. And then I want to address what I was going to talk about. My concern is about the street, the ditch, and the leaded pipes for us to have clean drinking water. And also the name of the area where I'm from. I see Old Town and everybody got signs, and we don't even exist, look like. It's called Fairville. And we are taxpayers, and I would like to know how to go about to acknowledge us in a lot of work that needs to be done. Over 67 years old, and the reason why I can faithfully say it, because I am 67, and from my childhood up, that as long as I could walk and notice different things that we had, black businesses, we had, my father had dump trucks and houses, and we had people that had their own tow company. Anyway, I want to address some other issue another time about what they're doing.
Thank you, ma'am. And Councilmember Woodard, sir, you have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ms. Sheila Joseph, this is part of your presentation that you had. You said you were in Fayetteville?
Yeah.
Fayetteville.
Fairville.
Fairville. Fairville. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. And that's just something I'll talk to the city manager about, because sometimes I think we do ride around Portsmouth and whatnot, and we don't know certain locations. There's no signs. I think for Prentice, some people may be familiar with Prentice Park and this Prentice Place, and the sign may be removed or whatnot. So it's just important for us to make sure that we are acknowledging, different communities like your own. But for the most part, I think we have been looking into the flooding issues, whatnot. You gave me a call as well. So, it's an ongoing process. We'll continue to see what we can do to work that out for you. Okay, Ms. Joseph? Okay. Ms. Jones, Ms. Deborah Jones, once again, and all the mothers here, our hearts goes out to you. As y'all continue to bring those photos down here, I know, I'm getting to know some of the victims' family members per se, because I know some of the victims. But, you guys are just an extension of our community and whatnot. And it just get deeper and deeper. And I don't want to, meet you guys in this way, but it's definitely a continued sad situation. This is one of my coworkers. I didn't even know, my ex-coworker and whatnot, I didn't even know that his son was a victim of gun violence. And, Mr. Cooley, whatnot, it's just a sad thing. And we're working on it. And I just want to ask our city manager, because I know she put in her future plans, if I'm correct, we were trying to see what we can do with some of the victims that were, of this gun violence. We were trying to see what we can help support in different ways. We didn't go into details tonight. I don't know if funerals and things are on the table, but we are seeing what we can do to go forward, because that's all we can do is go forward. It's a sad situation, but we want to do everything in our power to help you just try to make things normal. And Ms. Jones, I grew up with your son. My older cousins hung out with your son, and he was the brightest, humblest person in Portsmouth. And, it was always a sad story when we heard Mr. King Head, right? Okay. We heard that, those things happened to him, and, it still hurts to this day. So I understand your pain as well. So all I can say is that I think everyone on this council, we do care. Do we know where to start at sometimes? We don't, but I think when you guys come down here and let us know what's going on, it kind of shine a light on, the violence that's going on here, just not the things that we hearing on the news, whatnot. It's some things that's not even being reported, so when you come down here and give your personal stories, it just put a greater emphasis on what's going on. Like I told you before, of course, I may be the only council member that live downtown, so everything that you hear, I hear, all the sirens, the gunshots, everything that you hear, I hear. So I have to be in the midst of it every single day. And like I told you before, though, no one's going to run me out of my community. No one's going to run you out your community. So I understand what you're doing. That's why I do talk to our city manager about blighted properties. Because the thing is, guess what? It's people coming in every day trying to fix up these neighborhoods, but we're not taking care of these blighted properties. And guess what? It just attracts crimes. It shows people that this is a dump. And people just continuously, do drugs in these places, and they shoot from them, and it's just a cesspool of things that continuously happen, and we got to make sure that that we can get a hold on those small things, so we won't be bringing more people in our community with guns and stuff, because they just feel like nobody cares, nobody's gonna call on the police as well. So I'm just helping. I'm just trying to see, can you guys stay with us as we continue to help, curb some of this violence. This weekend we had a lot of things going on, but like Dr. Whitaker said, we got to get to the root issues. You see, people are switching from shooting and killing, now they're going to robbery. So it's growing. It's just growing and growing. So, but the main thing we got to do is identify what's going on, which we are, and hopefully we can curb some of this violence going forward. Our chief is putting programs in place, violence interrupters. I don't know if he's partnering with the Act Now program, or that's just something that he has going on, but that is a form of boots on the ground. I know Mr. Cedric has said he was, he was looking for more police officers that can man the ground, but these are just small steps that we're doing, because everyone is not welcoming to seeing police officers in their neighborhood. So we're just trying to do it in different ways. Even when you got council members like myself that you can talk to, that understand those issues. These are just different forms of how we can take care of. Now, it is a state of emergency, I'll say that. So I know hearing these ideas everyone can't take to them because everyone's situation is different. But the main thing is we have to tackle this violence from all directions. And if you please can, we're just asking you guys to bear with us as we continue to do it. But like you say, not on account of people dying, though. So I'm not asking you to bear with us, you know, just because we're working hastily to make sure that we can curb this violence. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Is there any additional business from our members of council? Seeing none, thank you all for coming. This meeting is adjourned.